important to, get people on board, give people a chance to come in and watch.
Is this what image will they be seeing on YouTube?
Right. Let's see. Well, right now it's gallery view, but I'll put it on speaker. So whoever is speaking.
You better wake up.
Yep. And then I'm pinning your video. So it defaults to Mr. Hollywood.
I'm exporting this shot for you, David. It's 180/20.
Yeah.
Had a few issues with it, but got it.
Good. We can experiment with that tomorrow. We can't do those without the breakouts. We tried. The result doesn't track that fast. It won't, if something's moving that quickly, it won't track it.
Can you use the tracking for, can you use the breakout to essentially facilitate tracking?
No, he'll work on the breakouts themselves. It's just a layer to him at that point. Oh, where'd you go? Was it something I said?
Not this time.
It's just a layer to him, It's so easy if it's broken out. He just clicks on the layer and colors it, done. It's so not easy if it's not. Although we did come across a very nice look for Dora's black jacket in the EMA, bridge scenes. And it's going to make Mark very happy. It's time consuming. It will cost more money, but it looks really good.
Very cool.
Cool.
So it's interesting for me to watch an expert in a field that I've been working in for years and thought I was pretty good at. And those couple of things I never really figured out how to do, and he does them like that. There you go.
Yeah. Well, we've already got quite a few people on Mr. Sci-Fi, so
I don't see the link.
We can go ahead and explain.
We should start. We're a minute late.
Yeah,
I'm not on
Mr. Sci-Fi.
Nope, I got nothing here.
Go ahead and refresh.
There we go.
Well, we've already got quite a few. Yeah, go ahead and mute that. All right. So yeah, to those of you who are on Mr. Sci-Fi watching, I'm Adam Sartain. We have tonight with us, Mark isn't with us, he's in London, but we have David Bartlett, aka Mr. Hollywood, here to answer your questions. So go ahead if you have any Hollywood or Space Command questions, because he is also our producer of Space Command.
Or science fiction, I know too. I'm just not like Mark. No one's like Mark. Well, Nicholas Meyer is probably like Mark. Martin Scorsese might be like Mark.
Yeah.
How's everyone tonight? We got Dave and Adam online here. Dave Edison. We'll just wait more, I'm sure.
Waiting for a few more table members to join us.
Do you want to do Mr. Hollywood question?
Well, there isn't one yet. So as soon as we get one,
right,
I'll let you know.
All right.
Why don't you tell us what's going on with Space Command?
Well,
the latest,
all kinds of things going on with Space Command. We are turning the corner towards a completion of episodes 1 and 2. We will be releasing them as a feature film DVD with DVD extras and Blu-ray, and they will be available for purchase and will be given to the Kickstarter backers that have been waiting for them patiently. most of them patiently, all this time. And we're also going to be having a screening, very likely at the Chinese theater.
If we can get a hold of them.
Well, the main theater rentals, I think they don't do anymore because of the IMAX, but the smaller one they do.
Okay.
So we've got sound mix happening starting Monday. We've got color correction happening right now. Tomorrow I'll be finishing the bulk of it. We do have some challenges with the color correction, but we've got this guy named John who is very, very good at it. And I'm very excited to be working with him because I'm pretty good at color correction, but he does it all the time, every day. And there's something to be said for that. So he's recommended by a good friend named David Block, who does color at the studios, and he's really good. So there's that. We've got Dave Edison and I working all day, every day, getting all the little bits and pieces together, of which there are many, into a labyrinth of dense vegetation. And when it's finished, it will be a movie you can watch. We have music, we have sound design being finished. We have all these elements being done right now that are the final steps. We already have the book cover of the boxes, the box covers. We have those being printed, and that's very cool. They look gorgeous. And I don't have one, or I'd show it. Shoot, too bad. Dave, do you have a box cover, by the way? He's not with us.
Oh, I might have one on file somewhere, but I
Oh,
don't have one at hand.
do you have one, Adam?
No,
Did you get
that's above my pay grade.
That's what you think. You just wait. That's going to be all you're going to do for a while.
No.
Very shortly. Oh, yes. Here's what Adam and I had to do. We had to figure out how many DVDs we had to make. So you think it'd be obvious. 3,700 people ordered Kickstarter DVDs. Well, another 1,700 ordered DVDs with extras, which is a 2-disc set. So we have to have a box that holds the DVD. We have to have a second box that holds the DVD and the 2-disc set, second disc. How many second discs do we need? We only need enough second discs for the second disc set, but we need enough DVDs for both combined. Because if you buy them in large numbers, you get a discount. How much of a discount do you get? If you need 1,102 and the break is 2,000, do you get 798 extra discs? Or do you order 1,000 plus the 102? It's very complicated. So we got the boxes out from my shelf and figured out exactly how many of each one we would need. And then I called David at Speedlight is his name. He does this is very interesting because you guys don't know this, but there's a delay in the YouTube. And I've got it on another monitor here. So every time I move or gesture or something like that, about 10 seconds later, I see it happen on the left-hand monitor at the same time. So that's exciting. Anyway, so hi there. We're getting people. Good to see you all. So we've it took us a while to figure out how many discs we needed of each type and how many there would be a price break on and what the budget was. And that's just one of many, many examples of the adventures we've had doing the perks deliveries on Kickstarter. So here's some sage advice to those of you planning a Kickstarter campaign. Have as few physically deliverable items as possible. That's the first one. Second of all, only get electronic ones that you can easily create. If you can't easily create them, they cost more to make than they get you back as a perk. I would recommend not charging $20 for the DVDs.
Yeah. Also price your perks, appropriately.
You also have to price the postage. For example, a DVD mailed anywhere in the US is about $2.50. A DVD mailed to the UK is $14. So if it takes you $2 and let's say it costs $3 to make for one. Let's say it's $5 for one, okay? Plus 14, and you got it for 20, you get -1. So that's a problem. Oh, by the way, Kickstarter takes 10%, and so does the person that helped you for the campaign. That's 20%, so you've lost another $4 or $5.
Right.
So be very careful with that. By the way, if anybody wants any advice about that sort of thing, I'm happy to help. If you want to give me a little shout out at davefilms@hotmail.com, DAVEFILMS@hotmail.com. I can answer questions and I can help you with all kinds of advice because I've learned the hard way many of these things, and some of them not the hard way. Some of them I've had great teachers at the beginning of my career. I had some really amazing teachers. I'll talk about that a little later.
Great. Well, we have
on my mind.
Yeah, we have a question. We have a question.
Do we have a number of questions, or should we start with people first?
We can start with people first.
Let's start with Bonnie. Hi, Bonnie. You're first.
Okay, I saw Carol here and Dave. I thought they might be. I was able to. I thought I'd only get one car, but I was able to store both their cars, so that helped. I was glad to be able to do that.
Oh, great.
Yeah, so that helped out a lot. And hope they're doing well in Italy. I don't know. No, sorry. Anyway, it's great. They changed plan.
They're in London and they're doing great. They're having a great time.
Oh, great. Fantastic.
On a holiday.
Yeah. Wow. And great to see you. You haven't been in a while. And
no, I've been at the beginning of meetings. I missed one, but I've been at the beginning of several meetings, and I had to leave.
Oh, okay. I was doing a workshop, so the last few weeks I came an hour late. That's why I missed you. I'm sorry. Yeah. So working on two stage musicals, and then up for a couple of films. Just kind of various things.
What do you do?
Ah, that's true. That would help. Okay, composer, songwriter, anything musical for projects. Yeah, that's true. There's a live audience out there that might not know me.
Bonnie is a very, very good film composer and musical theater person and an expert in all things music. So check her out.
Thanks. And doing a lot of, I've done a lot of jazz and all kinds of things. So, yeah, basically anything musical, come on my way. And I'll be glad to help. So, sounds good.
Great. Very cool. All right. Thank you.
All right. Yeah.
So, is there anything for Mr. Hollywood, Adam?
Yes. We have our first question is from Jack Moore.
Jack?
Yes, he says, I can't help but wonder what happened to the Enterprise refit bridge from the motion picture.
You mean Star Trek the motion picture?
Yeah, Star Trek the motion picture.
I don't have the answer to that, but I can tell you that there are two things that happens to sets, depending on who the studio is and what's happening. Wow, this crazy creature is looming inside Bonnie Janowski's universe. Who was that?
Joel. Character
That was
Joel.
He came in looking, he looks like Joel. How are you, Joel? You look like Lurch.
I'm a lost prion.
All right, have fun.
Yeah, I'll just say we always say that he's just like Sheldon on The Big Bang Theory. You never know what he's going to say. Retired engineer and electronic engineer, and always interesting.
Yeah. Okay, so the Enterprise bridge. The answer to that is usually that one of two things happens. One of three things happens. One is they get stored for future use for more filming. That almost always happens for big shows like that for a while. Maybe a half a season. They find out if it's renewed for the next year. If it's not, then one of two things happens. They used to throw them in the trash. If there's super famous things and someone wants them, they might be put in a museum, but that was in the day, it was much less than the way it happens now. But now there's a new thing that happens. They get sold to auction houses. And the auction houses get certificates of authenticity, of which Adam and I have made many. And they say screen used on blah, blah, blah show, and then they sell them. Now, the Enterprise bridge of Star Trek the Motion Picture, it's pretty likely that that's no longer with us. But this Paramount, I used to work at Paramount, and my walk from the parking garage through the studio to my office went past what they called the Golden Corridor. The Golden Corridor was all the sound stages they built the Star Trek sets for all the films and all the shows and everything. And I looked in and saw one day, I think it was a Voyager set. It was the largest freestanding soundstage, permanent soundstage set in the world. It was 3 stories high. It was made of steel. It was pretty awesome. A friend of mine was an actress on the show once playing a new alien, and I got to visit her on the set, and that was lots of fun. I'd walk by there every time I went through there. There's a very funny story of the backlot at Paramount once had many Italian buildings and other things from The Godfather and some other shows, and it caught on fire. And it was next door to the soundstage where the Star Trek, the motion picture sets were being built. So William Shatner ran out and grabbed a fire hose and was personally spraying the fire. And the headlines of Variety said, "Captain Kirk saves the Enterprise." So that was funny. It wasn't funny that it burned, but it was funny what happened.
We do know what happened.
We do know what happened. I don't know what happened to the bridge set, but that's the long story answer to that.
But we do know what happened to V'ger.
That little piece of V'ger is in Space Command's office.
That's right.
There's light behind it, so it glows. It's pretty cool. For those of you that haven't seen the Star Trek: The Motion Picture, it was restored to the director's original desire, finally, after all this time, with renewed spiffy VFX improvements, not new shots. Well, shots that were never in the film before, but they were improved by current VFX standards, and it looks absolutely spectacular. It's just gorgeous. So if you guys are all interested in seeing what the film that they originally intended to make was, now's your chance. It's online, and it's also going to play for 3 days in the cinemas in May. And it's coming up. Anyway, there you go. So now let's hear from Carol Field.
Hi, David. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling very well. Thank you. How are you?
You look great. You look so good. My God, to have had that event. My God. Jeez. Wow. Wonderful. Thank God.
Those of you who don't know, I had a stroke a month ago today, and I couldn't speak very well. I couldn't use my left arm. I couldn't use my left leg. And now everything is up to almost 100%. I even have this little globe. I crushed this little globe, but I didn't used to be able to do more than just about this. And now I can go like this. I can play piano again as well as I did. I can play guitar again. I can drive. I can do all kinds of things that you can normally do, including I even ran a little. And I'm not a big runner. You know, I'm kind of big for that, and I had asthma, but I can now run as well. So that's what Carol's referring to.
Oh, I'm so happy. Good. That's so great. Yeah, I'm well. There's some really crazy, cool stuff going on here. I was in a staged reading a week and a half ago. Some of you know about that. Another staged reading, and I thought it was abysmally written. And she invited a ton of people, and half the people said keep Field, which blew me away because I wanted to do as good as I could for her. Yeah, I really did. But when it's badly written and the writing was contradictory and like I couldn't get a feel for it. But I said, oh, what the fudge? I'll just make the character bipolar. Go for it. And I guess I did. I guess it worked out well and worked out well for her. So I don't know. I'm not predicting anything for the rest of my life. Forget it. But I love doing them. They're fun. I do it from the confines of my home. I'm definitely working on the second draft of what you so eruditely took me through, David. You're such a font of information. Wow. I'm just really having a good time. I'm just, I'm creating my own little universe here. It's great. I don't think I have a lot to report. Oh yes, except for one woman that I met at American Film Market wants to take 3 of my things to the Cannes Film Festival. So that's pretty freaky. My book and 2 things that I wrote. So like, God bless her, and how nice she's based now. She's based out of Amsterdam. So, I'm just grateful and throwing everything up to, I told her if she needs an actress for any of the things that I wrote, to call me. So yeah, and just coming here is just a great release for my nonstop friggin' busy weeks. And I want to thank you all for being here for me. So that's all for now.
All right. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
So Star Trek the Motion Picture could be seen on Paramount Plus. That was a question that came up.
Great.
So Mr. Hollywood questions?
Yes. We have a Scott Baker question.
Hey, Scott.
He says, are you watching the Russian Doll, the Netflix sci-fi comedy from Natasha Lyonne and Amy Poehler? And what do you think of it?
I went to this Dateline event at Paramount that was 2 days long. They had like 42 or something clips and Q&A panels. It was like a barrage of shows. And on that day, I saw the Russian Doll panel. And Amy Poehler was there, and so was the star. And I decided I wanted to start watching that show. Interesting you should say that. I have not started watching it, but I was always kind of intrigued. But the clip was interesting, and the two of them were fantastic. That star is so sharp, that showrunner. She's a very sharp. And I'm looking forward to watching it. I don't know if you guys have been watching it, but it's intriguing to me.
I saw the first season, and I haven't seen the second season. Just came out recently, but I haven't seen that yet. But I'm definitely looking forward to it.
My favorite news is, you guys know what dropped today? The Flight Attendant. Today, season 2. I see a lot of nodding heads. Hallie looks like a nodding head. Yeah. Flight Attendant. Here's a big spoiler of Flight Attendant. The first 6 minutes of Flight Attendant. There's a flight attendant. She's on board with her friend who's a black gay man, and Rosie Perez are her two best friend flight attendants. She hooks up with a guy from first class. They call him, what do they call him? 4C.
Well,
So you hooked up with 4C.
34C or 34, something like that.
34C,
Yeah.
and he's hot, of course. So she hooks up with him and wakes up the next morning and rolls over to see him, and he's there, and his throat is cut, and there's blood everywhere. And that's how the show starts.
I looked today, and they're only uploading 2 episodes of it, so they're going to keep you strung for the weeks and weeks and weeks, which is smart marketing. So that's how that'll be.
I don't know. You're right, but I'd rather have them all at once and spend the weekend watching them.
Is that Kelly Cuoco? Is that the one?
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't watched it. I love Big Bang Theory. I haven't tried to watch it.
I really like her.
Talk about breaking out into a series of her own. I mean, it's just really, it rocks. She really brings it. Yeah. Anyway, so there you go. There's the answer to the question. No, I'm not watching it, but I'm sure going to. Okay, so who's next? Let me see here. How about Mr. Dave Edison? He could be next.
Hey, everyone. Let's see. So kind of what David Bartlett said, we're working on Space Command. Those of you on Zoom, I'm looking up here at a couple of monitors. I'm in DaVinci Resolve, preparing some plates to be used in the color correction process that I'm sending. It's a lengthy process, but it'll be done within a couple of years.
So let's explain what a plate is, so people can share in our pain. That was shot on the set incorrectly, that was composited incorrectly, and color corrected incorrectly, and green screen matted incorrectly, and now it has to be fixed.
Kind of like that, yes. So in a nutshell, a plate is a single shot or a background or just a single element for a single shot. Would you go with that?
Yeah, that's what it is.
Well, that's what I'm working on. Everything else is kind of status quo.
Like Dave, you could look at Adam if you dare. Adam, if he were in Space Command's universe, would be a plate by himself because he's in front of a green screen. And that backdrop he has in there would be another plate. And I would need them separately to give Adam the color he deserves to make him match everyone else.
So Adam has 2 plates. He's like a living buffet. So anyway, that's what I'm up to, and hope you're all doing well. Still vertical and breathing here. Going to try to keep that way. So
very cool.
Back to work. Talk to you soon.
All right. Do I have another Mr. Hollywood question, Adam?
As always, yes. We have a question from Bruce Moore.
Hey, Bruce.
Who says, can you talk for a moment about the composer? Who does the music for Space Command? The score is awesome.
David Raiklin. David Raiklin is one of the best kept secrets in Hollywood, in my opinion. He's an excellent composer. he works, he's out there all the time, but he's not like super famous, and I think he should be. He's done a great score for us. He used some very budget conscious live musicians to fill out his synthesized score, and made a big difference. And now I'm going to start mixing that music into the film next week, maybe Thursday or Friday. So when you mix a film, usually you start with the dialogue tracks that were recorded on the set, and the ADR that might have been replaced later. Then you premix that. Then you premix the sound effects, the backgrounds, the Foley, which is footsteps and props. And you take all of those together and you add the music, and that's a final mix. So I'll be looking forward to doing that, because it's really exciting to see the first reel's 10 minutes long, and you play back the first reel with all the sounds, and it really, for the first time, is a movie. And it's really exciting because all the things that you plan once upon a time come together, or not, but they do have a culmination, and it is a film that you can watch and have other people watch. And like Orson Welles was a magician before he made films, and so much of what you make in films is just sleight of hand techniques of having people looking in the other direction, called misdirection, so they think it's really happening for the length of time it takes to watch it on a TV screen or a movie theater. And it really is literally a magic trick that happens. And people, myself included, we buy it. We want to buy it. We want to believe it. We want to come in and say, yeah, I believe it. I'm in a spaceship flying around, or I'm in the Amazon on a boat being hauled over a mountain, or whatever it is, So anyway, I'm a big fan of movies and TV. I don't know if you guys realize that. So up next how about Mr. Adam?
Yeah, I could take my turn.
All right.
So hi, everyone. I am Adam Sartain, as some of you may know. I am an actor, a voice actor with over 78 voices, accents, and impressions. And I am also an associate producer on Space Command.
This is true.
So lately, I've had a lot of action happening. I just today put in 2 more episodes of 1 Minute History, for which I'm a regular narrator and contributor. It's a great, if you haven't seen it yet, check it out on YouTube, 1 Minute History. The latest episode out right now is, I think, on gladiators, and I narrated that one. So it's about how gladiators in Roman times created the first trade union. It's very interesting, and it's only a minute. So, but
you remember that great? Was it Monty Python, The Meaning of Life? I guess not The Meaning of Life. Anyway, one of them where they said, "What did the Romans ever do for us?" And they said, "Well, they made roads and highways." Oh, well, okay. So besides the roads and highways, what do the Romans ever do for us? The aqueduct, plumbing. Okay, well, besides the roads and the highways, by the time he was done, he's like 7 or 8 things where they basically changed the world.
Yeah.
That's very funny.
But also, the big news is I've just been cast in a musical. So I'm going to be, it's a brand new musical that's going to be playing in the area here coming up in May.
Is that the name of it? A brand new musical? No,
it's called Elephant in the Room. It's
that's clever.
Yeah, it's basically about like the political polarization of America, and everyone, there's a lot of great musical numbers in it, and I won't say how it ends, but I will say that certain recent events in 2020 are involved. But it basically takes place in like 2019, up into 2020.
Awesome.
So very, very interesting.
When do you start rehearsals?
I've already started rehearsals.
Great.
I was brought in as a replacement because someone dropped out, and they said they needed a couple guys, and I was like, well, sure, I'll audition. And they're like, you want it? You're in.
That's the best.
Yep. So I get to play a homeless guy named Homeless. Very clever names for all of the characters.
That's great.
But it's by design. So
Very cool. Very cool.
But yeah, I'll be posting I'll send an email out to the table with details on that once I get them. But I will get a number of free tickets. So if you're interested, I can definitely hook you up.
I want to go.
Yeah. And then the podcast is still going. No new guests this week, but as soon as I get new guests, we'll put them out there on the very next Monday. My latest episode is with producer John Andrews, who is the producer of Beavis and Butthead. So it's a very interesting episode.
Ooh, wow.
We talked about how Beavis and Butthead came to be, how spin-offs like King of the Hill and Daria came from it. It's very, very interesting episode. So check it out wherever you listen to podcasts, Inside Animation. That's
great.
It for me.
So if anybody here ever wondered what you do with Space Command,
yeah,
how many total perks, individual different perks are there?
Oh my God. Individual perks.
Yeah.
Off the top of my head, say 8,000 times 100.
No,
maybe about
not the deliveries, the individual items.
So like at least 80,000, probably 100,000.
No.
Individual items. Yeah.
Yeah. No, there's 130.
Okay. Oh, 130 different perk items. Yes.
Items. Yeah.
Yes.
And the DVD Blu-rays and the on-set visits that we can't deliver quite yet, how many are left? Besides those?
To be delivered?
Yeah, to be created or delivered. Yeah. Besides those.
Just a couple.
Like 6 or 7.
Yeah, 6 or 7.
Out of 130, 6 or 7 are left.
To be made that haven't been made yet, or they haven't been delivered because they haven't been made.
And 4 or 5 of those are waiting Mark and Elaine's approval because they are finished. So Adam keeps track of all that and makes sure that we know where we're at with this sort of thing and it's getting done. So we might have, by the time we do a screening of this, we might have all the perks delivered that can possibly be delivered. That's
crossing my fingers for that.
Personal goals. But that's what Adam does.
I'm going to go to Disneyland if that happens. When that happens,
I might take you there.
Right?
I said might.
Might.
The 8,500 individual contributions were made over 7 campaigns, and we delivered last Christmas something like 650 physical perks and like 12,000 electronic perks, all on Christmas Eve. So that's what Adam does.
Yep.
Anyway, excellent. Thank you, Adam. Now, What about Mr. Hollywood?
We have, speaking of Kickstarter perks, we have another Scott Baker question, who says, as a Kickstarter perk, have you considered making NFTs out of digital copies of Space Command episodes with a special personal intro for Mark or other stars, etc.?
So glad Mark's not here to hear that idea. The answer is no. We're not doing NFTs. We're not going into that world. Now, it's an idea for a certain. No, not well. There's no well.
Not for that. Not as a perk, but I have dabbled in taking a few images that Mark has done, art of Mark Zickery items that I have put up as NFTs.
Yeah. See,
just to test the waters, but.
Kickstarter is a very, very clever platform. They said, okay, we've got investors who give money to something to get a profit. Then we've got people who donate to campaigns like charities to get a tax write-off. So those are both very, very carefully monitored by the Securities and Exchange Commission, the SEC. They say, okay, well, we can't do either one of those. But what about a gift? Well, a gift, people might give it as a gift. That's what Patreon does. But you don't make much money that way for the person, and then Kickstarter can't get any piece of that. They say, okay, what if we do a contribution? And what they do is they give a contribution that is exchangeable for an item that's defined, it's predefined. They know what they're getting. So they're not just taking the money, and it's not an investment, so there's no profit participation. The money never has to come back, and it's done that way. So Kickstarter takes 10% of that as a fee to run the campaign, which is legal. And all the perks that are available are perks that are also legal to exchange for this type of contribution. And it's called a contribution for a reason. It's not called a donation, and it's not called an investment. I know all about this because I had to go through all the legal to get this set up, okay? So NFTs are kind of a gray area. Are they a financial transaction? If so, we cannot give them as a perk. So we're staying away from that because it's too new and it's too potentially problematic. So that's the answer to that question. Now, Scott Baker has asked questions like this before. So my question for Scott Baker is, when are you going to have your campaign to make your project? Because you've got projects and you've got a lot of knowledge about this, and I think you should go for it. And that's my opinion. I think everyone should go for it. Okay, now, next we have Holly. Hallie or Holly?
Hallie, hi. I mostly came in today just to listen to see how everybody was doing and what everything was. I have only been on here a few times over a period of time and haven't been here for a while. So I just wanted to check in and listen. For myself, since there's so few, I'll say something. I am shopping a television series right now that I've written the pilot and created a lookbook and laid out the entire first season, and I'm actually writing the episodes for the first season. I had big showrunners on it like 15 years ago, and the writer's strike crashed the whole project, and a friend of mine talked me into updating it and trying it again. So I'm trying to find a showrunner for it. Those other showrunners moved on. One is a directing showrunner for David Kelly. He's a little busy. And another one is up to Canada running a show up there. So I have to find new ones, and it's really hard to get through gatekeepers and such. I know some directors who want to be part of it as the director, but I want to get the showrunner first. So that's my little pushing a rock up a hill thing happening right now, is that. And yeah, that's mostly the profession. And I just am trying to sign with an agent, a new agent for acting. So that's what my life is full of right now.
Cool. Well, the showrunner part, first of all, and people always know this about me, I'm a glass half full kind of guy. Okay. Mm-hmm. So if you put no into any statements, you're going to get your wish.
What did I do what did I say no about?
Those people are too busy. My teacher, Milton Casellas, was my teacher, and he was such a big deal that no one ever invited him to anything because he never came, like an opening or a party or stuff. So finally he pulled one student aside for years, and he said, how come you don't invite me to your openings? She goes, well, you never come. So he said, let me say no. So that's my advice to you. Let them say no. If they were once excited, talk to them again.
Oh, no, I did already. No, I did already. They've moved on. I did. They've already said no to me for this round, which is okay. I mean, I gave it my shot.
But
yeah.
The point is, I get it. But the point is that if you decide someone else isn't going to be able to help you for them, you may find that you're right. Because
for them. Well, I'm looking for other showrunners now, not them.
I understand that, but the point I'm trying to make is that you go the glass half full and say yes is always the option. So, if there's too many, you don't want to get a director involved because the showrunner's not involved yet. That sounds logical. So you should be a showrunner with the other showrunners and present yourself that way. So you're not looking for a showrunner, you're looking for a partner showrunner. Now, you being a woman have an advantage because women are very popular right now. I went to these things, like I told you guys, these Paramount things. Probably 3/4 of the people that were on those panels were women showrunners. And many times the executive producers are women, the stars are women, all of it. It's a women's world right now. It's a momentum out there that's really going hard forward with women behind things, and they gather them up around them, other women. So all you got to do is find a woman that wants you.
I'm giving it my shots. That's what fills my days these days, is doing that. Yeah.
Okay, I get it.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway,
good advice. No, I'm taking that advice. It's good advice. But
okay.
That's what I'm doing. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
All right, good. So now what's next? Mr. Hollywood question?
Yeah, we've got another question from Bruce Moore.
Okay.
He says, do you find that the editing process is where the film really comes to life, or do you strictly edit to the script?
That's a great question. It really varies to degree, but the editing always has the film come to life, unless it doesn't come to life. But that's a different subject. If you have a script that rocks and the actors were terrific and the director was on point and it looks beautiful and all those kinds of things, the editor, it's his to mess up. But if he does a great job, or she, because there's many great female editors, if they do a great job, the film can be even more heightened. There are some examples of editors who have saved films in post-production, and I've worked in a couple of examples of people who have ruined the films. So it really depends. Now, me personally, I think the editing is the rewriting of the screenplay. It's an opportunity to make improvements on the script in areas that might warrant them, or even things that came up on the set that weren't in a script that you now want to incorporate into the film. So it depends on the type of film, like an improvisational comedy actor like Jim Carrey or like Robin Williams was or something. You're going to have a solid script and you're going to have them do whatever they want on the set at some point, because chances are they're going to come up with something more brilliant than the writers did, but not always, because you got to have that backbone and structure behind it. Otherwise, people end up with it flat. It won't last 2 hours in a cinema or an hour on TV if it's not solid to begin with. So there's a combination of those things, but the editor does pull it all together. And sitting and editing footage like that and coming up with ideas and clever ways to do things is very fun. So you can, and the director also can say, okay, well, that didn't never really work. So what can we do now? And then you come up with some alternative, and it's great stuff. I'm working on a script for a project I want to do soon. I'm thinking of the cinematography and the editing at the same time while I'm writing, finding ways to create the script structured around what are called set pieces. Like a set piece would be example, a car chase, that's a set piece. Action scenes are usually considered set pieces. So if you figure out what your set pieces are because you had an idea to do a certain thing, like I'll give you an example. I'm scouting locations in the property I grew up on and the house that I grew up in and the barn I made my first film in. These are all locations. So okay, I have a house, so I could have a set piece in a house, and I have the barn. We'll use the barn somehow. I have to use the barn. How can I make a film without using that barn, right? It's coming full circle when I was 10. So I say, okay, I put these on the wall. We have the house and we have the barn. So the house is going to be, I'll give you guys a little preview. A woman is in her 20s and she's a very famous model, like a Varushka, who does body paint that looks like the backgrounds, like her head looks like a rock or whatever. So she has a career similar to that, but she never quite got the acting launch. And her father passes away, her mother's passed away, but her father passed away, and she has to revisit her family home, which she's not too keen about. So she comes in, and the camera roves around and sees the inside of her house the way it was, currently, which is kind of run down and cobwebs and boxes around because no one's lived in it for a while. And she stops on like a living room, and then it transforms in her mind with some kind of transition into a Christmas tree and a beautiful Christmas time, and the kids and the parents and the gifts, a happy memory. And then it comes back to the way it is now. And then it roves into another room, a third room. And this happens each time. So, okay, I have the house and it already looks like that because no one's lived in it for a while. So that's done. No set design. We just show up and I throw up a couple lights in a couple of key spots because it's got to look kind of gloomy anyway. And I have this great production designer who comes in and says, okay, so switch out the living room for the Christmas scene. And she just cleans out the room and puts up a tree and some gifts and it's done deal. And we shoot the same shot there right then. We probably will do the whole thing all in one day. So that came from having sets and locations in a set piece that now tells a story in a very short amount of time. It's very cinematic, that has us get on her side because we see, okay, well, she's sad now, but there was a time when things were happy and nice, which is going to stay with her for the rest of the film because she gets that challenged at every turn because it's a thriller film that has a lot of horror elements and there's scares and things like that and people jumping out and all that sort of thing that comes with those kinds of films. But it starts out with this section in that set piece. So anyway, it's kind of a long example of that. So with Mark and Leonard here, I talk a lot, but there's not that many people here, so I figured I'd go on a little bit. So anyway, that's the answer to my question about the editing. It's in my mind all the time. Robert Wise, who did Star Trek: The Motion Picture, was my first advisor as a director when I first moved to LA in 1980. And he was, he won 2 Oscars for Sound of Music and 2 more for West Side Story. And he was the editor of Citizen Kane. And he got to start sound editing and then film editing. And that's how he really learned what works and doesn't work, was from the editing room. So I'm going to really put that to the test. So I highly recommend it. It's a lot of fun. Even if you guys just grab, make a 5-minute film and shoot something and stick it in iMovie and whatever and cut it together. It's a movie. You're editing. As James Cameron said, he said, get your sister's friend and a camera and shoot something. He said, after that, everything is just budget and schedule. I was like, wow, that's pretty good advice. I think you should have it in a film theater with admission charged, like at a festival. Play the film at a festival, a stranger buys a ticket to watch your movie. That's when you're a filmmaker, I personally think. That's a director and I made our first film when I was like, I don't know, 1984 or something. And we sat there outside the New Art Theater where it was playing. And we watched the first 2 people buy tickets for it. And we met them and said hello. And they thought that was great. And then we went in and watched this film played in the New Art Theater for Academy Award consideration with an audience. And that's a thrill I will not forget. So anyway, all right. Next we have here, let's see, who should we have here next? Thank you, Hallie. Mark Agoshevitz.
Hello.
Here he is.
If you want
What's up, Mark?
really understand the editing process really well, they always do these audience screenings in California of movies to get audience reaction. And sometimes you'll go to a movie. I went and saw Indecent Proposal, and it was an hour longer. And when it hit theater, they added a lot to there was a lot more at the beginning, so it took them a lot longer to get to Vegas. And I was kind of like, it's okay. And I really like Adrian Lyne as a director, so I was a little disappointed. And then I saw the theatrical cut, and it was far superior because through editing, they went in, they cut some stuff down, they rearranged some stuff, and they made it really work and solid. So sometimes if you get an opportunity to go to an audience screening that they sometimes do, you can see it. And if you walk out of the audience screening and you think to yourself, that was terrible, well, go watch the theatrical, see if they changed anything, see what they might have done to make it different. Things that are done in the editing room are really wacky. You'll take a scene from the 50-minute point and move it up to the 30-minute point, and now you got a different movie. So it's really kind of cool. Anyway, it's been a really crazy week for me because this was jury duty week for me. So, and they do jury duty very differently now. They no longer call you in to wait in a room. They call you in to the exact trial that you're going in. Like generally you'd go in like at 8 a.m. Now I was called in, but I have to be there till 1:45 because they don't want people waiting in a room anymore and all that. So it was a week of, do I get called in? Do I not get called in? How do I handle my clients? What do I tell them? But that's over with, and now they can't call me in for another year. So thank God for that. Got a deadline coming up on a travel show that's going to be holding most of my time. Mark just finally emailed me and said, yes, I like the button at the end of the Comic-Con. So hopefully that will be exported tomorrow, which is my first chance to do it. And then we can be mostly done with that stuff, depending on everybody's schedule. And that's it. Just been busy editing, and editing.
Cool. Is there anything you need?
I need a day off, but I don't think I'm going to be getting that until next month. So, but I don't want to complain because when you're busy in this business, that's good. It's when you're not busy, you should worry. So
yeah, I usually find that if the busier you are, the more things get offered to you.
Yeah, it's nuts. It's like you'll go months with nothing and you're like, oh my God, I got nothing to do. And then all of a sudden you take something and like literally right now I'm working on 3 things. One of them is relatively, actually 4 things as of tomorrow. 2 of them are relatively simple with the, the understanding that you're working around my schedule. And then 2 are just, I got a deadline. You got to get it done. But like I said, busy's good. I'm not going to complain. I'll complain when I'm dead. And I don't mean dead lying in the ground dead. I mean my work is dead.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a little extreme. I'm like, wait a second, how could you complain? Oh, never mind.
I just want at least a day or something. I want to go to a movie again. I haven't been to a movie.
Oh, that was news for me last week. I went to 3 movies in one day.
Oh my God, I haven't done
It
that
was
since
awesome.
a long
And they were
time.
so different too. Oh my God. These movies. I saw this movie, what's it called? Duel, about a girl. It's set in the future and a girl has a clone made of her, and then she has to fight her clone to the death or something. Anyway, it was very strange. And then I saw this film with a Michelle Yeoh, who does the what's it called? Everything About Everything Else, or something about everything else. I forget the title. Anyway, that was wild.
Everything, everywhere, all at once.
Yeah, and that's a good description of that film, because it's just like like a set decorator's dream or nightmare, one of the two. It's just like costumes and sets and crazy. And then I saw like the most Hollywood movie out, this one with Sandra Bullock and Channing Tatum and Brad Pitt in a brilliant small part. And that was fun too, but man, those films couldn't have been more different. But I saw 3 films in one day. I was very happy. I filled my coat full of food and snacked the whole time. And anyway.
I'm going to try so hard on Saturday to make my way down to the New Beverly because they're showing The Fugitive in the afternoon.
Oh, cool.
And I just want to see a movie in the theater again. And
that's a
I
good
know
choice.
I should probably see something new, but The Fugitive's one to see in the theater.
Yeah, it is. That's a good one.
Keep your fingers crossed that I can make the time.
All right, great. Okay, Adam, any Mr. Hollywoods?
Yes. Question for both of us, actually, from Scott Baker. He says, ever heard the outtakes of legendary voice talent Ernie Anderson? Got a rare recording of a session he did in Seattle in the early 90s.
I don't know about Ernie. I have not heard of these tapes, but they sound interesting.
I have not heard of the tapes. I just looked him up really quick, and he's a bit old school for me. Like, he died in 97, so I was like still in high school. So, but he was from what I can tell, he was a big announcer, and was the announcer for Animaniacs.
I have an album where he co-stars with Tim Conway. It's 1967, and a reasonably funny album for its day. It's called Bull, Bull. And so Tim Conway, it's available on YouTube. So
Tim Conway is just, one of the greats. If you guys just want to have fun cruising YouTube one day, watch the Tim Conway sketch about the elephant on Carol Burnett. That's just one of the great classics of all time. And you should watch the dentist one too, where he's a dentist that has a hypodermic needle. And I won't spoil it, but those are 2 of the greatest comedy bits ever done.
yeah, the elephant is part of the Mama's Family sketch.
Right. So anyway, sorry we didn't pan out on that answer for you there, Scott. A little esoteric for me, but that's cool. I'm happy to take the challenge. Okay, good. So now we're going to go to, so Ben and Emily, do you guys want to go? Aren't you like New York or something? Or, Las Vegas or Kathmandu or something? There's no picture. I wonder if they're not there. Okay, that means next time.
Hey, sorry. Hey, David, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Well,
Where are
had
you
some
guys?
technical issues. But it's a little sad day for Emily and I today. Prince passed, our cousin Prince passed on this date in 2016. So, but it's one of those things you go through, and that's where we are. But good to see everybody, and we're glad we're here. And it's always good to be in your company. Emily lives for this hour, believe me, man, weekly. So take care.
Glad to be here.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Very good. Thank you guys.
Okay,
So,
Dave. Thank you so much.
yeah. Got it, Mr. Hollywood there, Adam?
Actually, I've got a question for me from Bruce Moore. I guess I'm answering questions now. He says, I'm very interested in the voiceover business. Any recommendations on getting started? Well, usually I charge for that information, but I will say, well, because I do consulting and lessons as well. If you want to go
give a little teaser in honor.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, I will totally. But if you want to, I will say, if you want to go further, you can contact me. I'll give you my email address. But yeah, to get started in voiceover, what I would do is just practice it, find it, start reading things. There's lots of different, there's lots of copy out there. I mean, sure, there's the typical websites of voices.com, voice123, but I actually don't recommend those. But the only time I would recommend them is just to, because there's a lot of copy there. There's a lot of auditions that you can do, but just do it. Don't buy expensive equipment yet. Just, wait until you get into it and start actually booking things, then buy the expensive equipment. But for now, you can just use your cell phone and record things, record your own voice, listen to it, and keep going. And then look up on, there's Backstage, there's, what is it? Actors Access, all these other websites, they have, in addition to auditions for actual acting, there's also auditions for voiceover as well. So get out there and just do it,
Yeah, I could add something about that expensive equipment thing. The modern cell phones are really great. If you're going to use them, go into a room that's like a walk-in closet or something that has a lot of baffling around you, or a carpet, and then hold the phone at an angle. I can't really show it very well on this camera, but if you hold the phone at an angle to your mouth, don't point it at your mouth like this. So you get this pop, 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 popping kind of sound off to the side and a little bit away, like about a foot. And you get very little of the room in there. You get a very good, clean recording, and then you can edit that and not cost anything. Now, I say that because we get people that need to do ADR, which stands for automated dialogue replacement, which is where an actor is on a set and there were crickets or a truck or something, and we can't use the line in post. So when you're editing, then you say we have to replace that. So the actor comes back in and they watch the film on a movie theater size screen and re-record their line of dialogue. So a lot of people can't come in and do that, and a lot of films can't afford to do that. So I direct them just like I did with their phones in their apartments or whatever, and we figure it out and work it out. And I've done that quite a few times very successfully. So yeah, you can do voiceover reels that way, no problem.
Closets are great. And also, in a pinch, if you can find a quiet street, your car is also a great place to record.
Car is not bad. Car sounds what we call a little boothy, like it's in a booth.
Right.
It's a little boothy, but the car is very clean too. But if you want to go the opposite way, don't do it in your bathroom with a tile floor or in a gymnasium. Now, those are extreme examples. A cave would be another one, or a cathedral. These are not places that lend themselves. And Kira's there, and I was like, Kira, we could get a band and record in a cathedral or a cave or a gymnasium and get really great reverb, but you don't want the reverb with your voice. So there you go.
Yep.
Those are silly examples, but
Hallie has
I just have a quick question, David. Yes. What level of phone do you need to have that kind of sound?
Sevens will do it. iPhone 7s.
Really?
I mean, the newer ones are great.
Okay.
The iPhones have great sound. I don't know about the others. I'm sure they're comparable. The cameras and some of the Samsung camera, I saw some shots of the Samsung camera recently. They're pretty great. So if they keep the sound up, the thing is that the basics of a microphone these days are very simple, the electronic ones, in the recording level, and they're all going straight to zeros and ones on a computer. Nothing's recorded onto a drive or a track. So with that said, it doesn't take a big effort on their part to get a decent sounding microphone.
Right.
So the more expensive phones are all going to have great microphones.
Cool, thanks.
Yeah.
Little bits and pieces of Space Command have actually been recorded on cell phones. You'll hear them snuck in from time. Well, you won't hear them. The trick is for you not to notice that they've been snuck in from time to time. And there's even a word or two that we changed by Doug Jones. And I think he just recorded it on a cell phone. Nothing fancy, but they work just fine.
It did. And now people are used to that, and they're used to it being workable things. So the actors they'll go along and they'll comply. Because it used to be they wouldn't, because they didn't want to do something that was jinky and, bad. So, see, my job as the re-recording mixer, it's recorded once, and I record it again with the music and the dialogue and everything else, is that you don't hear the difference. So it's only to my benefit for you to get the recording right to begin with, because then my job is much easier on this end. So anyway, okay, good. So where are we at now? With another person? Is that next? Guess who's next? Michelle Hart.
Oh, hi.
Hi.
I have very little to say. I got out of town over the weekend to see my son, who is in San Francisco, or I should say, he's priced out of San Francisco like everyone else. So he's now in Daly City, which is kind of like living in a suburb. It's still sort of San Francisco.
Like North Hollywood or something?
I spent several days being seriously windblown, much colder than I thought I was going to be, in spite of bringing up an interlined raincoat, which I needed. I got very windblown. I got very stuffed full of all kinds of exotic food and drink. And I did largely nothing except eat and talk for 3 days, which was really nice. And now that I'm back, I'm trying to catch up on a bunch of stuff. I had, in the last probably month or so, I must have gotten 12 different requests from Central Casting for availability for background work, not one of which actually turned into work, which is weird as hell. I'm not excited about doing background, but it's SAG and it pays, so yay. But must have been at least 12 of them. And of course, there were 2 on the day I was getting on the plane. And I just said, no, I'm not available. I kind of felt at that point like, you guys had your chance, you missed it. So now we're back to ground zero again. And haven't heard anything exciting from my agent. I haven't heard anything from my agent. And that's kind of it. I'm looking for, very shortly, I want to get some new headshots done. And a couple of full-length shots, because that's what people are asking for now, too. And just trying to, get things cranked up again. Carol was interested last time in the fact that somebody had been trying to had approached me about teaching ballet for adults. And you know how Mark talks about people who are not what they seem to be in Los Angeles. And this was a person who was apparently got some serious bucks behind him and is starting this very involved ballet school, trying to really train ballerinas, and spoke to me about doing classes for adults and everything. He was very interested, to the point where he gave me the day and time that he wanted to start the classes on. And, that it was going to be regular, and we were going to do 2 days a week, and then it was going to build to 3 days a week, blah, 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 all that fancy stuff. And he asked me to send him a picture and resume and so forth. And I sent him my dance resume updated and all the rest of it. Do you think I've ever heard from this man?
I don't know.
Of course not. Of course not. Give me 2 choruses of Hooray for Hollywood, and here we go again.
There's still time.
I kind of think he just like.
I understand, but you do have a great painting behind you.
Pardon?
Your painting. It's a great painting.
It's some of my husband's work when he decided he was going to do abstracts instead of other things.
So does that mean it's good or not good?
It means it's very good, but
Okay.
At some point, you and I will talk about this, but very briefly, he started out as a fine art wood engraver. That is not wood carving or wood cutting, wood engraving, a different thing altogether. And although he was very well received in New York and had one-man shows and is hanging in museums and all the rest of that stuff, it didn't make any money, following which he got into drawing and writing comics. and he was what was referred to as one of the people of the golden age of comics. And he did, he drew and wrote Captain America. He did not create it, Kirby created it, but also Submariner, Human Torch, and a whole bunch of other stuff.
Huh. How about that?
So someday we'll sit and talk about that.
Yeah,
but
very cool.
Every so often he would say, I need to do something different. And the big painting behind me was one of the something different.
Very cool. All right, thanks. Anything else?
No, just at this point, catching up on all the fun things that don't get done. Laundry, going to the supermarket, this exciting Hollywood life that I live.
Going to a movie.
I've seen a couple of movies. I did see Coda recently, and it's just spectacularly
Isn't
good.
that something?
It's
That
very
really
much
caught me by surprise. It was amazing.
I was disappointed in Power of the Dog. Jane Campion's great. The acting is wonderful. The story seemed telegraphed to me right from the get-go. It's like, like the opening credits come on and they go, the butler did it. I knew where it was going immediately, and that really bothered me.
Okay.
I understand it was from a book.
Something else you liked? Something else you've seen you liked? Let's hear it. We'll end on a happy note.
What have I seen that I liked recently? I'm blanking, but
right.
Code impressed me incredibly well.
Yeah. Okay, good. Thanks. Very good. Very good. Now, Adam, we got another Mr. Hollywood question. We've got a picture here of Emily Clark, which is really nice.
Yay. Let's go to, we've got a Bruce Moore question.
Okay. Hi, Bruce.
For Mr. Hollywood. And he says, have you noticed how networks like BBC America are showing films at 60 frames per second? Why does it look like a soap opera video?
Yes, they are doing that. And it looks like a soap opera video because the 60 frame rate is yet another level of the detail that can be captured by these cameras. And they light those things that way. For whatever reason they do, it looks flat because of the way they light it. That's why soap operas look the way they look. They fill the ceiling with 2K lights and 2,000 watt lights about that big, and they cover the whole ceiling and they cover every square inch of light, so there's no shadow ever anywhere. So no matter where they turn and look, they're lit. And that's why they do it, because it's very expedient. They can show up, and these actors, I don't know how they do it, but they show up, they get their script that day in the afternoon, they're doing takes, off book, no scripts, boom. And they just do day after day like that. The lighting, the camera, it's all marked out and blocked out and done. So that's the way that looks. So yes, Michelle, hi.
Well, as you know, I used to be on General Hospital, and they did 5-camera live, and rehearsal consisted of walk in here and sit on that chair, get up and go out the other door. And you didn't know where the camera was. You weren't supposed to know where the camera was. No. And when they did things like telephone conversations, 3 cameras on one person, the other 2 cameras on the other person, and you had a practical phone. And you didn't have to pretend you heard the other person speaking. You actually heard them. Yeah. So they, it's a whole other way to work. And it's lots of dialogue. I wasn't on it for that long, but the people who are on it for a long time, they know their characters so well that they know what they're going to say, kind of. They know where the story's going, and they just let them rip.
Right.
It's
as far as
other world.
Yeah. Thank you for that. As far as the 60 frame concept goes, I think it's less about the technology and more about the way it's approached lighting wise. When HD first started, there was this big controversy about how do you light video. Video doesn't take as much light. Not true. Video can be shot a lot faster because it doesn't take as much light. Also not true. HD is shot at the same lighting rate that film was. 320 ASA or ISO, if you know what that means. They're both shot that way. So you need the same amount of lights. In fact, it has to be done even more carefully in a different way. But if you want it to look like film, light it like film. So if you watch The Hobbit, which is shot at 60 frames, and you can get a way to see it in 60 frames, it does not look flat. It looks deep and has depth, and the lighting on the set was done that way. And in post-production, they remodeled the lighting again to make it look very cinematic, and it looks beautiful. It's pretty long, but it's a great look. So I don't think the 60 frames really is the issue. I think it's the way it's approached by the people that are behind those shows. Once upon a time, they shot the more expensive porn was shot in 35 millimeter. And so the same cameras that were used to shoot The Shining were used to shoot pornography. And those films look really different. So I don't think it's about the film or the camera or the lenses. I think it's about the way it's lit and approached and the design of it. So it's kind of a weird example, but that always threw me off that it could be, how is this possible? Why does it look so different? And how come when I use the same lights Alan Davio used to shoot E.T., which I own, my stuff doesn't look like E.T. because he's Alan Davio. And I'm doing my best to, do the best work I can and learn and improve and make things look better. So there's that. Yeah, I had I once, the surprise, Alan Gordon Enterprises used to have these seminars. And I came in and said, "You going to come to the seminar?" I said, "What?" So Alan Davio is doing a seminar. I'm like, "Yeah, I'll do that." So I sit down, there's like 20 of us. And he's like this major Oscar-winning guy. So he has E.T. on a giant screen behind him. And for 5 hours, we sat and listened to Alan Davio, the cinematographer of E.T., stop on each scene and describe to us exactly how he lit those scenes. And it was an incredible experience. And by the time I was done, I realized if I had a 10K, a big light this big 10K in my grip and electric kit, I would have the exact same lighting kit that he used to shoot E.T. with. And that was inspiring and humbling all at the same time. So anyway, I could tell stories like this all night. I got to shut up. Now, let's go on to another. Are we on a Mr. Hollywood question? We just did that. Let's talk to Akira. Hello, Akira. How are you, my friend? I can't hear you.
I'm muting. Okay. How's it going?
Unmuted.
Good. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, good. How are you? Good. I'm good. And I finished my tax paying, right?
That's good.
Yeah. And yeah, and doing some indie film and also writing some pop tune. Some with I'm doing co-writing with the singer-songwriter in East Coast, New York City, right?
Great.
Yeah, and one what the short movie I'm working on now. It was a really interesting one because it was in the beginning. This is a story of the one indie musician, right? Indie musician, and music is also meant by himself because his story, right? But on the way of the filmmaking, the brain cancer was found in his brain, and he passed away, and he could not finish that movie, and the purpose of the movie is changed. The story of how he survived or how he struggled in a hospital life, right? But he could not make the music, and I'm making additional music for the whole story. And now it's quite challenging one, and not I do not have to pretend himself, but try to some kind of composition extension of his life, extension of his music. That's what the director says, and I'm listening his music well and try to get idea, not to but imitate it. But things like that. That's what I'm doing. Yeah, that is, a sad story, but really challenging for me, what I'm doing. Yeah. And also I'm teaching, Japanese, as usual. Right now I'm 30 students in a week. It's a little busy now. Yeah, that's all about me. So thank you very much.
Yeah.
I'm good. Thank you.
Very good. Okay. Any more Mr. Hollywoods, Adam?
Yes. Let's go to a new one from Jonathan Engwall.
Jonathan.
Who says, I'm buying my copyright so I can self-publish. It makes me worry. Is it more difficult to work with first world rights or to buy rights from a writer?
Difficult in what way? To be a publisher, to be a filmmaker, to making a film or a TV show?
I think it's public in the writer, like book
Well,
world.
as long as you have the rights under control, you can really kind of do whatever you want. And if you can say it's difficult or easy, I don't know about that. I always do that. The first thing I do, I copyright treatments. And, you know, the Writers Guild versus copyright discussion can be had. But if you're talking about self-publishing, that's really, I don't think it really applies to that so much, you know, because you're putting it out there yourself. And if you pick up a publisher to pick up your book, then they make a contract and agreement with you based on that, but you already own what's called the IP, which stands for intellectual property. And that's where it's at. You know, Mark and Elaine own the IP of Space Command, so nobody can do anything with Space Command without them agreeing to it. And that's a good thing. So I would definitely establish yourself as a copyright so that you have ownership of it and go from there. Hope that was helpful. I see a couple answers here. Bruce Moore, thank me for my glass half full attitude. Scott says, keep telling stories. I could listen to them all night. Well, we don't have to go that far. But here's an Audacity question. Audacity is a software. Someone added bass and depth to their voice. Scott Baker did, by having this extra software enhance their voice. That's called re-recording.
I've used that, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I do all day long. I'm a Pro Tools guy. I use Pro Tools. Pro Tools has a new plugin I'm a spokesperson for them now unofficially. Well, maybe not unofficially. My brother just won an Oscar for Best Sound for Dune, and he uses it. It's called Clarity VX Pro, and it is a Waves plugin that works in Pro Tools, and it is a game changer for cleaning up noise and dialogue tracks, production recordings. It can help you restore things. It can help restore music tracks. It can help restore anything. And it's pretty incredible. It makes me think that I can probably take a lot more risks on the set now, knowing what can be done in post, and not have to worry as much. I mean, it takes out crickets, cicadas, trucks, sirens, jets, waves crashing, mic noise, lavalier problems, all of this stuff. And it does it in real time. And it does it while you're mixing, and it can be automated, so you can change things as you go. It's pretty remarkable. So that solves a lot of problems of having bad production dialogue on the set, but that doesn't mean you can't just say, oh, we'll just throw up a mic. It's just not that good. You still have to have good miking on the set. So please don't think I said otherwise. Anyway, thank you guys for all of that. Now, Emily, did you want to say anything else now that we have you on camera? Or are you good? Ben and Emily Clark. Your mic's open too. We can't hear you though. Huh. No? Okay. So anything else from anybody? I think we're wrapping this up. Do we have any more questions?
I think that's, well, we do have a good question from Bruce about casting.
Sure.
He wants to know how important is the casting director to a project, and any horror or success stories that you've experienced.
Yes, I know a bit about that. So casting directors are very, very powerful people to actors. They can say no to lots of actors. They can also say yes to pass them on. There's a big misconception out there that casting directors somehow say yes to the actors and just hire them. The director of a feature film or the showrunner of a TV series are the final word. Well, the director of a feature film is the final yes. The producer has the final veto. Whoever signs the check is the one that has the final no to anybody. And the casting directors definitely do not sign checks or hire people. Sometimes there are times when a director is on location in Europe and they have someone drop out, and they call the casting director and say, we had a bunch of people and they were great for this, just pick someone and send them. In that case, the casting director will actually cast someone in that part for the director or the producer. But they are very important people because they know all of the actors that are working in all the situations that might be involved with them personally or with their agents and their managers, and who's good for which parts and what they're like to work with. They know all of that. So they are a godsend to the producer and the director who say, okay, well, what about this person? I'll say, well, they passed away 6 months ago. Okay, well, let's not call them. Say, what about this person? Oh, they're terrible to work with on the set. So really, what do you mean? They tell you. They say, okay, well, he's so brilliant. Let's have him in anyway. And maybe they'll be okay with us. And the casting directors will have this dialogue back and forth based on their knowledge of being in the trenches all day long, every day, only doing that. So it's kind of a, difficult question to answer easily, but the casting director is a very important part of the process. And because they deal with actors, they become very powerful. There's a lot of actors out there that owe their careers to the casting director putting them in the right audition at the right time. That happens all the time.
They're one of the main gatekeepers.
Yeah, gatekeeper is a tough definition for me. It's as if they stand there with their arms folded and don't let you in unless you have the right combination of whatever. It's not like that, but they can definitely say no. There are other people that can say no too, but they're the main ones. Now that I think of it, they're about the only ones, except for the producers and the director. So yeah, there you go. Anyway, hope that was helpful. Anything else? I think we're good.
I think that's it.
For coming. Another wonderful table meeting. Had a good time. I'll be back again next week, and I think the week after. They're gone for 3 weeks. I'm not sure if they'll be back in 2 weeks or not, but next week I'll definitely be doing this.
They come back May 9th.
Oh
May
no,
9th.
I didn't do myself. I
Yeah.
didn't talk a lot about myself, but what I didn't do was talk about the table email. If you are on the table email and are having troubles, you can let me know. If you want to get on the table email, you can email me either way, davefilms@hotmail.com, and it's in the queue here. And anyone on the Mr. Sci-Fi, you are welcome to join for this time period until we're still trying to figure out a way to have Mr. Sci-Fi happen at the live meetings, but we're not quite that far yet. So for now is the time. Now is your window. And I already talked about me and my film, what's coming up, and the Space Command progress. If you want to work on Space Command and some shooting that's coming up, that's a possibility. Almost everyone on the screen here has benefited one way or the other from shooting on Space Command. So it's a good thing to do. And you can talk to me about that too, because I'm one of the producers and I'm in charge of that too. So I'm in charge of enough. So anyway, that's it for tonight. And thank you all for coming, and I'm going to sign off.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, David, for leading us.